Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel, Gardening with 1B and Zone 5B. My name is Janelle. I'm here to help take the intimidation out of gardening, getting you on a path of food independence. Today it's raining outside, can't really do anything out there, so let's do an inside job. Today we're gonna make some currant jelly. Now, I have currant bushes down below the hill and I did a video on, picking the currants. I had gifted this year's currants to a really good friend of mine because I had leftover juice from last year, and then when I was cleaning out my freezer I found 2 cups of leftover juice from 2023. So I want to use all that up, and I have enough juice between 2023 and 2024 that I can make a full batch of currant jelly. I'm just going to use the recipe out of the Ball Canning book, not being sponsored. And all this recipe asks for is sugar and a liquid pectin. So I'm just using this because it will expire at the end of this season. So I knew I bought it for a reason, and I knew it was for a jelly. And I guess I think I used Pomona's pectin last year for jelly. It works really great. And I was gonna use Pomona's, but then when I was going through my stash of pectin, I'm like, what did I get this for? So I'm going to use this so that it doesn't expire. So I'll show you what I'm working on. Now, on any canning day, I sanitize my workspace. So I went through everything here with one of those wipes that come out of a plastic tub. And I just kind of wiped everything down. Remember, this is food preservation, so you want your food to be safe. And since I'm working with dark red, I thought I'd wear a dark red shirt because if I got splattered on, it's not going to stain my clothes. In my world anyway. So I've got a big kettle here. This is what I'm going to make the currant jelly in, and then I'm going to split it off into 2 other flavors. In the past, I've made currant jelly with red pepper flakes, which is really good on a blob of cream cheese on like a Ritz cracker. It's kind of like a poor man's cheesecake. And then I experimented 2 years ago, and I made a Christmas currant jelly, which has cardamom, cinnamon, and clove in it, and star anise. So I'm going to be splitting it off after it's, at the stage where it's got the sugar and the pectin in, and then I'm just going to let it kind of simmer for a little while those other flavors infuse, jar it all up, and I'll be done. So at this stage, my currants are picked, washed, cooked, and strained through a jelly bag. For people who are just learning how to do jams and jellies, whenever you strain fruit for jelly, always moisten your jelly bag first. That way all the juice doesn't travel up the fabric of the jelly bag, and you'll get more of your own juice for your product. The other thing is never squeeze the bag. It'll be tempting to squeeze that bag to get the juice out, but a lot of fruits have like a hidden starch in it, and then that'll just make your jelly cloudy instead of clear like a gemstone. So I just wanted to let you know that. This is just an example of one of the containers of currant juice that I had in my freezer. Whenever I freeze any kind of juice or any volume of berries, 1 cup, pound, whatever, I will label it like that. So you can see here that I have 1 3/4 cup of currant juice. So when I'm pulling out my frozen containers of juice, I know how much I need to get to the amount needed for my recipe. It's kind of handy that way. So if you would ever do this in the future, or say that you have leftover, don't dump it down the drain. Save that juice for next year and then just add it to the pot. You might be a little shy of berries or juice or something for your next year's batch. You'll be glad you had this in your freezer. The hissing noise that you hear in the background, that's my water bath canner heating up. I usually get this going right away when I'm at this stage of making my jelly. And then also too, just because there's some left over in the container, don't wash that down the drain, use it. So I'm just gonna scrape that out into here. There. And they're still kind of in frozen little blocks, but once I turn the heat on, they'll melt. I want to get them melted before I add the sugar. That's one thing for sure. There, look at all that extra juice I'm getting. I do have a saucer in the freezer, and that's how I tell if my jelly is going to set. Once I get to that stage, right before jarring, I will put a little dribble on a frozen saucer, let it set up for a little minute, and if I can run my finger through it and leave a trail, then I know it's ready for jarring. So I'm going to just kind of check on my hot water bath. Ooh, it's getting steamy. Always open your canner away from your face. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my jars in here. Now, last night I washed a dozen quarter-pint jars. I just put them back in the box just so I can move them around a little easier. So all I'm going to do is get these in the water. This gives them one more sanitizing, more so than what I can do in a kitchen sink. Because this water is going to come up to a boiling temperature, and that'll kill any other bacteria. And I have a jar grabber to get them out of the hot water so I don't burn my paws. By the way, I did wash my hands before I started to do this. I do a lot of hand washing when I'm canning. I have wet towels everywhere by the time I'm done. But then I tell myself, then I know I did everything in my power to make the food safe. So all I'm going to do is this. And I'm just going to put the lid back on just to keep the moisture in there and the heat. I seem to have one wooden spoon designated for canning because it like something stain. So I'm just going to turn this heat on kind of to like a medium just to kind of get everything thawed out. This should go pretty quick here, but I just kind of wanted to show you. Alrighty, so it looks like everything that was like frosty and icy and chunky is already dissolved. And I know this looks like such a small amount in this big pot, but remember, I'm going to be adding 7 cups of sugar next. And then we're going to get this to a rolling boil. So we want room for everything to be able to boil without boiling over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right. So now I'm just going to kind of get this stirred up. And when it starts to get to that rolling boil, I'll show you what they mean. It's a boil that you really can't stir down. So we'll come back in just a little bit here. To me, currant jelly has a flavor of maybe cranberries and cherries. It's, I don't want to say tart and give you the wrong impression, but it kind of reminds me of Jolly Rancher candy, not being sponsored. And then also too, the method of canning that we're using today is water bath canning. I don't have to add any lemon juice to currants because their acidity level is high enough. And what we're going to do is hot pack, meaning we're going to put hot liquid into hot jars into a hot water bath canner. So I hope you can kind of see this. This is coming into like a rapid boil, and they want you to let it boil for a minute really hard like this. And when they say a hard boil, they mean that when you stir it, the bubbles don't go away. So I'm just kind of been watching a clock here, and I'm just about on the tail end of letting it boil like this. Then we're going to add the pectin. We're going to bring it to a hard boil again for a minute. That's when I'm going to start splitting it off. I'll quick jar some up and put them in the water bath canner. And then I will infuse red pepper flakes in some, and then I will do the Christmas variation of this jelly. Now, when they say liquid pectin, don't think you're going to pour it out and it's going to be runny like water. It's kind of like a little bit of a gel, like this. Kind of, it almost reminds me of like an aloe vera gel. So let's get that in there. You can see how the coolness of this pectin simmered this boiling down. So now I got to get it come back to a hard boil, and we will come right back. Alrighty, I was just stirring this down. I just ran into the freezer to get my saucer. You can see this is a hard boil, meaning that when I stir it, the bubbles don't go away. And all this foam here, I will scrape off, but for the time being, I just want to make sure if this is going to set nice.
So let me just get a little dribble on here. I'm just going to let this sit. If I put my fingers in this right now, I'm going to burn my paws. Now, if I have to let it boil for a little bit longer, my next little dribble is going to be here, and I'll just kind of work my way around the saucer like a clock. Actually, it's kind of looking pretty good. So what I want to do is make a path so that the jelly does not refill the path. And that could go for a little bit longer. So I'm going to put this back in the freezer and let that go. We'll be right back. While I have that saucer cooling down again, I'm going to just start scraping off my foam. This actually, when it cools, it turns into like a fruit flavored marshmallow. It's kind of good. It'll be my treat. You could technically can your jelly with this foam in there. It's gonna make it look like a little bloppy and maybe not as clear. And if you're gifting it, some people might think, ooh, I don't know what that is. And they'll think something went wrong. All right, while I was scraping off foam, I got my foam pile a little less, but now I'm just going to do another little drizzle here. I'm going to keep scraping off foam. We'll just let that little drizzle set on that saucer for, I don't know, 15, 20 seconds. I just want to get this foam off. I like gifting unique jellies, things that I can grow, and people are like, huh, I never heard of that. And it turns out that they like it, they're surprised. I'm glad that they're willing to think outside of the box. So let's just check this puddle here. Now remember, I'm going around the clock. That's actually a little bit better. I'm going to let it go for a little bit longer. We'll come back. All right, I'm just going to get some of my jars out of the hot water bath right now. I'm going to actually get them all out, and I'll just show you a little bit here how this little grabber thing works. One moment. So it's kind of nice. You never have to worry about touching the water. That curved part goes around the outside of the jar real nice. I'm just going to put them here. I really don't know how many jars I'm going to need, but for now I'm just going to put them on this towel. You never want to take hot jars out of a hot water bath and put them directly on a counter. That will shock them and they could crack. So you don't want to stress out the glass on your jars. Okay, I'm going to just quickly ladle some just plain currant jelly into hot jars. I'm going to get these going in the water bath canner. And they say to leave about a 1/4 inch headspace. And headspace means that's just the level of the jelly to the lid that goes on top. So all I'm doing is this, trying to avoid any leftover little pectin clumps that I might have. Then I'm going to split this remainder off. Well, these guys are in the water bath canner. And I'm going to infuse some seasonings or some herbs, some spices in there. All right. So this is just a bowl of hot water with my lids on. So I'm just going to cover these like this. There we go. I'm going to put a ring on them and get them in the hot water bath canner. And a ring is just these parts here. So that jelly in there is really, really hot. So I want to be careful. And these are going to go in the water bath canner for 10 minutes. So again, I'm going to open this away from my face. Just get these going just so that there's something in the water bath canner. I don't want anything to sit just too long. These are going to go in the water bath canner for 10 minutes. So right now I'm just kind of splitting this off I'm kind of eyeballing it to see, if I can end up with like half and half. I think that's about where I'm going to be. And I'm going to go one more time with a spoon and scrape off any of that foam. This kettle in the back here, all I'm going to do is add some red pepper flakes to it. And we're just going to let that red pepper infuse. Now, in the past, I have tried using plain old jalapenos, but the moisture from the jalapenos throws off the pectin and, oops, ouch. And then the jelly never really set. It stayed real runny. That was unfortunate. Now in this kettle, I'm just going to infuse 1 star anise. I'm not going to put any cloves in. I look back at my notes and I didn't do it before. And I'm thinking it's probably because the taste of cloves and anise are so similar. I'm going to put in 1 cinnamon stick and about a 1/4 teaspoon of cardamom. Now, cardamom is something that you don't want to overdo because it'll taste like grandma's potpourri in her bathroom. And that's about all I'm going to put in. You just want that little hint of that flavor. And then, where's my spoon? I'm going to kind of just stir that in just so that all those flavors infuse. I will pull out that star anise and I will pull out the cinnamon stick, but I'm just going to let those infuse for a little while here. And I think I'm going to switch my kettles around and then I'm going to jar up the other one here. So let's just set this here. Move this one here. Put this one here. There. Not everybody likes hot peppers and jelly. I do. It's nothing that I would put with peanut butter, but like I said before, with a Ritz cracker and a blob of cream cheese and then a little bit of this jelly on top, ooh, that's a good snack. Okay, these jars are still hot. I don't know if I'm going to get 4. I'll put 4 out here. I'll be hopeful. Now, I can still use this colander because, or colander? Funnel. I can still use this funnel because I just had plain jelly going through this. This time, though, it's going to have red pepper flake jelly. So I will have to wash it before I use it for the next one. So far, so good. Add more in that one. Kind of want to get some peppers in each one of these jars. I want to be able to see the red pepper flakes. Oop, that might be too much. Yeah, I might have to use my spoon to ladle some of that out. Let me shut this burner off before we have to call 911. That's good. Maybe I will get 4. Super. Ooh. I don't think I'll get 5. No. Let me try. I got to scoop some out of this one because it's a little bit too high up as far as volume. I just realized too, I forgot to wipe the rims of my jars on the other one. You always want to wipe your rims to make sure that you don't have any residual stickiness on there so that your lids adhere really well. My fault. Let's see here. This is starting to really thicken up already. I'm going to run and get a spatula quick. Here, I'm going to just kind of go through this and get as much as I can out of here. Get it in here. This one I might not be able to actually put in the canner. You want everything to be at the same level, same fullness, and this just isn't going to be the same level. Let me see. I take some out of here. No, it's not going to be the same level. So it looks like I'm going to have a jar in the fridge for myself. Yay! All right, I'm going to go and wipe these rims here with some vinegar. So my timer just went off, which means that these guys in here are done. Ooh, is that steamy? So I'm going to take these out real quick. We got 1, 2, 3 that are plain. And I'm just going to put my lid back on this. And then we're going to wipe the rims here. So when I say I wipe the rims, I just have a little dish of, this is just plain white vinegar, which I did, by the way, put a little splash in this water here. And that's just to keep the jar sparkly. And you just want to wipe your rims like this, just to make sure like you don't have any jelly on there. See how it's a little bit pink? So I just want to make, oh, there's a jar that's sealed. That's good to be on a shelf now for 2 years. And I know it said 1/4 inch headspace, and I have a little bit more, but they're all at the same level. And I believe that would be a good thing. All right, so then, ooh, this water's cooling off. That's okay. I got the, just doing this. And I'm going to get these in the water bath canner for the 10 minutes while I fill the jars for the other ones. Now my timer just went off, but I also just finished filling all my other jars with the Christmas variation of this. I wanted to show you what finger tight is for putting your rings on. See how it stops? That's all it is. You don't want to ever crank on it like that. So now, let's keep them separate because I got these coming out. Hot, too hot. Let's see here. So I've got 4 jars coming out here. And if we hear them pop, then we know that they sealed and they'll be good on the shelf for up to 2 years, but might never stay that long. All right. There we go. And then I'm just going to load my canner up with the last, what do I have, 7. I had to actually go and get some jars and get them under hot soapy water and quick get them cleaned and sanitized so I could do this last load. All right. There we go. 10 more minutes and then this will be done. We'll come back. Sounds like the last timer. There we go. I'm going to shut my burner off, open my kettle away from my face so I don't get a steam burn. Let's get these out of the water. Remember, if we hear any popping sounds, that's a jar sealing. And I'm going to try to keep them separate by each variety here. Yeah, actually, you can't really see me doing this. There, that's better. Oh, there's a pop, so that one's sealed. That's how the Superb lids sound when they seal. The first time I ever tried them and I heard them pop like that, I freaked out. I'm like, what was that? I thought I had like a cracked jar or something, but that wasn't the case. So there, I got 7 of the holiday ones. Cool. So now what you have to do is just let these sit for at least 12 hours minimally, preferably, oh, that's a good sign, preferably 24 hours. So I'm probably going to get away with just letting them sit for 12 hours just because these are the smaller jars. So I got 3 plain, I got 4 with red pepper flakes, and I got 7 with the holiday spices, which were cardamom, cinnamon, and star anise, or star anise, however you pronounce it. So that's my end product. And then these here are just dabs that were too small to go into a jar, into the canner. So I'll just put these in the fridge and eat them. I hope you found this video informative. Canning jelly can be something unique. Jam is pretty easy because you're just not filtering out any imperfections, solid matter. I've never done freezer jelly. If you have, please put a note in the comments and let me know what type you did as a freezer jelly, because in all my research, I've only found that you can do freezer jam. I hope you found this informative. Please like, follow, share, subscribe. Tell all your friends. I'll see you in the next video. Have a great day. Bye.